A former staff member once claimed that inside the luxurious mansion of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, there was a single videotape locked away in a safe, something no one but the two of them was ever allowed to see. When their marriage fell apart, the tape mysteriously vanished. No one knows what was recorded on it. Some say it was just an old audition clip, but others believe it held something far more dangerous. A piece of evidence tied to a world of power, trust, and invisible strings that could control not only careers, but love itself. Tonight's story isn't just about a broken marriage. It's about the shadows behind the spotlight, where a woman once had to choose between fame and her own freedom. This is Nicole Kidman, the woman Hollywood could never tame. And if you believe that behind every dazzling story lies a hidden truth, hit subscribe and listen closely to the whispers that were never meant to be heard. She was born in Hawaii and grew up under the bright blue skies of Sydney, a place where most kids dreamed of becoming dancers. But Nicole Kidman dreamed of telling stories with her eyes. Her mother was a nurse, her father a psychologist. She grew up surrounded by gentleness and reason, two qualities that would later live inside every character she portrayed. By her early 20s, Nicole carried a rare kind of beauty: porcelain skin, fiery red hair, and a distant gaze that made people wonder what she was thinking. In 1989, the film Dead Calm turned her from an unknown girl into Australia's newest cinematic discovery, a beauty that wasn't loud, but quiet, sharp, and just a little bit cold. But behind the scenes, some say director George Miller hesitated to cast her, calling her too fragile. And then, in a private screening room in Los Angeles, Tom Cruise watched her audition tape and quietly said, "That's the girl I want to work with." Some call it destiny. Others believe it was the beginning of something bigger than love, a contract written between power and fate. What do you think about this? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the hidden stories behind Hollywood's brightest lights. In 1990, at the height of Hollywood's golden glow, the wedding of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman took place quietly on Christmas night. There were no fireworks, no loud media frenzy, just two people standing before each other, exchanging vows under candlelight as Silent Night played softly in the background. At that time, Tom was the most powerful movie star on the planet, while Nicole, the red-haired girl from Sydney, was only just touching the edges of her Hollywood dream. They appeared together at every award show, hand in hand, their dazzling smiles making the whole world believe in fairy tales. Nicole once said, "He made me feel safe, like nothing could ever touch me." But inside the industry, whispers told a different story. From that very moment, the balance of power tilted. Tom had fame, influence, and an entire universe orbiting around him. Nicole had love, and the fear of losing it. A former assistant once whispered, "She didn't just love Tom, she was terrified of losing him." And beneath the flashing lights, no one could tell if what was shining so brightly was real happiness, or just a thin layer of glitter covering a heart that had already begun to tremble. They were the couple the whole world watched. Together, they reached every peak, from the sweeping romance of Far and Away to the haunting, seductive frames of Eyes Wide Shut. On the red carpet, Nicole Kidman always smiled radiantly, her arm linked with the man she believed was her destiny. But behind the camera flashes and the glittering parties, a quiet distance began to grow inside her. Tom Cruise was becoming more deeply immersed in the faith he believed would lead to enlightenment, while Nicole held on to the simple Catholic beliefs she'd grown up with. These two worlds didn't collide with shouting matches. They drifted apart in silence. According to people close to the couple, Nicole was once invited to undergo a faith examination, a ritual said to prove loyalty to the organization Tom followed. She refused, and from that moment, those closest to her, assistants, co-stars, even household staff, began leaving one by one. Inside what once seemed like the happiest home in Hollywood, Nicole began to hear something she had never noticed before, the echo of her own loneliness. Nicole Kidman once said, "I felt like I was living inside a box, a beautiful, luxurious box, but one without a way out." She began to doubt everything around her. Strange phone calls with no one speaking on the other end, letters that arrived and then disappeared, even the glances of household staff who once felt like friends. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise seemed further and further away. Their evenings together, once filled with laughter and warmth, were replaced by long, suffocating silences. One night, Nicole picked up the landline and heard a strange recording, a voice whispering something she couldn't quite make out. No one knows whether it was real or just the creeping fear of someone feeling trapped inside a house that suddenly felt too big. But from that night on, Nicole never used the landline again. Instead, she began writing letters by hand, hiding them in drawers, quiet reminders to herself that she still had some piece of freedom left. In a world where every glance felt like it was being watched, she learned to keep silent. Because sometimes, silence is the only safe place left. Stanley Kubrick, a man famously obsessed with truth, once said that Eyes Wide Shut wouldn't just be a film, but a dissection of marriage under a microscope. Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise entered the project as two of Hollywood's brightest stars, but left it as two souls completely drained. The shoot stretched on for nearly a year, in dim, airless rooms, through endless intimate scenes where the line between acting and reality slowly dissolved. Kubrick demanded a kind of honesty that bordered on cruelty. Every glance, every touch, every heavy silence behind closed doors had to feel real. Crew members later said Kubrick pushed them to their limits, forcing the couple to confront their own jealousy, their own desires. No one knows which came first, the cracks in the film or the cracks in the marriage. But when the cameras finally stopped rolling, something between them had changed. Eyes Wide Shut would later be called The Final Flame. Brilliant, but consuming. A few months after production wrapped, Hollywood's golden couple announced their separation, and the world suddenly understood. Sometimes a film doesn't just end with the credits, it ends with the lives of the people inside it. In 2001, Hollywood was shaken. The couple once seen as the symbol of perfect love, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, officially divorced after more than a decade together. There was no public feud, no accusations, just a brief, quiet statement. When asked why, Nicole softly replied, "Sometimes love isn't enough." Her words were light as a breath, but heavy as a final period. She initially shared custody of their two adopted children, Isabella and Connor, the kids she had once cradled in her arms, the ones she believed were pieces of her soul. But slowly they drifted away. No more hugs, no more whispered, "Mom." Several former members of Church of Scientology later claimed the children were guided to see Nicole as someone who had turned away from the faith, an outsider in what had once been her own family. Nicole never confirmed any of it. She only said quietly, "I love my children, always." A short sentence like a prayer cast into the void. And beneath the flashing lights and the endless clicks of cameras, Nicole smiled. But in those blue eyes, there was an ocean quietly breaking apart. After the divorce, Nicole Kidman seemed to vanish from Hollywood. No red carpets, no glittering parties. She retreated into silence, living quietly in a small house by the sea in Sydney, where only the wind and the waves kept her company. For 2 years, she took on no projects and gave no interviews. When she returned, it was through The Hours, 2002, playing the role of writer Virginia Woolf, a brilliant woman battling the storm inside her own mind. The performance won Nicole her first Oscar, but more than that, it was a rebirth. Because when Virginia was writing about her despair, Nicole was quietly confronting her own darkness. Members of the film crew said Nicole acted through real pain. In the scene where Virginia walks into the river, Nicole cried off script, tears blending with the cold water, her body shaking as no one dared to call cut. Some said it wasn't acting anymore. It was a ritual of release. The Hours didn't just bring Nicole Kidman an award. It pulled her out of the hollow silence after her marriage ended, turning her loneliness into art. In 2005, at a charity event in Los Angeles, Nicole Kidman met Keith Urban, an Australian country singer with sad eyes and a shy smile. There were no flashing cameras, no grand public debut, just two people, both carrying old wounds, quietly recognizing each other in the crowd. A year later, they were married in Sydney, surrounded by candlelight and the voices of close friends. For Nicole, Keith didn't arrive to fill an empty space. He came to show her that love could be gentle, without control. But happiness didn't last long. Keith relapsed into alcoholism. When the world expected Nicole to walk away, she stayed. She staged an intervention, checked him into rehab, and visited him every day, sometimes reading to him, sometimes talking, sometimes just sitting in silence, holding his hand. Rumor has it that during that time, Nicole wrote letters to Keith every single day, but never sent them. When he finally came home, she handed him the stack of letters and whispered, "Read them when you're ready." No one knows what those letters said, but everyone knows that from that day on, Keith Urban never left her side again. Two years after their wedding, something Nicole Kidman once thought impossible finally happened. She gave birth to her first daughter, Sunday Rose. It was the summer of 2008, a warm, gentle day in Nashville. Nicole held Keith Urban's hand tightly and cried, not from pain, but from the quiet certainty that every loss in her past had led her to this moment. A few years later, their second daughter, Faith Margaret, was born through surrogacy. Another quiet, tender miracle. The family left Hollywood behind, choosing a peaceful life in the outskirts of Nashville, where mornings smelled like fresh bread and guitar music drifted through open windows, where Nicole could go to the market without being recognized. "I'm not chasing the spotlight anymore," she said softly. "I just want peace." But some say it was the arrival of those two little girls that melted the ice of a bond once thought broken. That Isabella and Connor, the children she had lost touch with, began calling their mother again. No one knows if that's true. All anyone sees is the way Nicole smiles whenever someone mentions the phone calls no one knows about. The quiet smile of a woman who has finally found her way home. Today, Nicole Kidman is no longer the woman defined by past romances or old scandals. She's a symbol of rebirth, a woman who learned to rise from the wreckage and turn pain into power. In Big Little Lies and Being the Ricardos, each role feels like a reflection of her own life, a quiet declaration. I've been through it all, and I'm still here. Now in her 50s, Nicole lives a slower life in Nashville with Keith Urban and their two daughters, planting flowers, baking, and savoring days far away from flashing cameras. Some say she still keeps a locked journal, a place where she's written the untold chapters of her years with Tom Cruise. No one has ever read it, but maybe one day when she's ready, the world will hear the rest of the story. Today, Nicole no longer needs to prove anything. She has chosen peace, and silence has become the happiest chapter of her life. And what about you? Do you believe Nicole Kidman has truly left those old shadows behind? Or has she simply learned to live with them? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories and the whispers that were never meant to be heard.